I remember I was saying, I was like, man, I never met Larry Bird. I'd never been in the same room as him. As crazy as that sounds, it's never worked out. And I got a chance to go meet him and tell him how, much of an honor it was to meet him. And, he told me he was looking forward to meeting me. So that was crazy to hear him say that. He's a lot taller than I thought he was. But obviously what he means to the game, what he means to the city of Boston and the Celtics. And, he's the ultimate Celtic. So it was an honor to meet him.
Yeah, Larry's probably like, I don't have to wait a bunch of yahoos standing in front of my house while I'm cutting grass. I can meet you now. KJ and Lyons, WEEI, in progression 4A here on your President's Day. 617-779-7937. Text line 37937. That is Jason Tatum talking about meeting Larry Bird for the first time. We'll get to the NBA All-Star Weekend and the Celtics, but let's get to Danny and Quincy. And we've got our timers. We all universally agree on 1 minute. 1 minute.
What,
there we go.
Okay. Oh, the arrogance. Okay. Listen, I heard the gentleman, I think his name is Mike, right, say earlier in the show that back in the day you were a Brady guy over Bledsoe.
My name's John, but yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I apologize.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be a wise guy.
No. That's all right. Yeah. But I said there was a big split.
Can I ask you how old you are?
Now?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a personal question. I mean, why don't you just ask?
No, what do you?
Okay,
No, Danny. I know what you're getting at, right? I was too young to know the difference.
I just want to know. It's not trying to. I just want to know. This goes up my tailpipe when I hear people telling me what their feelings were on a very divisive subject matter back in that guy that you had on. I'll get to him if I get more than a minute. But if you were 5 years old or 10 years old, I don't know how old you are now, but. You had to be, what, 10? How old are you?
Yeah, so, look, I was a kid, but my point is that at the time, it was a very divisive issue. As you mentioned, I happened to like Brady a little bit more because they started winning more games, but I obviously wasn't an expert back then when I was a kid, but I think there was a huge split, and there was a lot of people in the Bledsoe camp. He had gone to a Super Bowl, with the Patriots, but I think there was a sense of a lot of people, and maybe age groups are different too, that the thing with Brady, they were winning more at that time.
It wasn't a split, though. Even after it was 99.9% of the media was on Bledsoe's side.
That's right.
And you had a poor and more than half the fan base. I can attest to that. Okay, I was in my 40s when this happened, so that's why I'm asking you. Okay, I want to know how old you were when you were, because nobody on the radio was for Brady. I can tell you that right now.
The radio wouldn't take my calls back then.
Okay,
no,
well, whatever.
What Danny is saying
that's why I'm asking you.
What Danny is saying is there shouldn't be a revisionist history because of what we've seen happen. Nobody was calling for Brady to keep the job, just the same way that nobody was calling for Jimmy G to keep the job when Tom came back from a suspension.
I invented a new generation, the 28-3 crowd. That's you've heard of Generation Z, X, Millennial. Yeah. They're the 28-3ers because that's their baseline. And that's where they get it was all Brady and never Belichick. The other thing, this guy who wrote
I've never
book,
said that.
I didn't say you did.
I'm just letting you know.
That was a general statement, okay?
This has been fascinating more than the 1 minute timer, I have to agree.
All right.
Continue.
But this guy who wrote the book, am I still on?
Yeah, you're on.
Okay, this guy who wrote the book, the document, he actually was on with Jonesy and the Megatron girl there, and he actually said it was apropos, and I'm paraphrasing, or appropriate, or justifiable that Bledsoe went up the back stairs, went into the owner behind Belichick's back, and lobbied to get his job back. And he said absolutely Bledsoe had the right to do that. Now, he'd already done it with Parcells. That's what helped get Parcells fired as well. So it happened twice with Bledsoe. That guy, and the other thing, the media depicted the relationship between Bledsoe and Brady as a mentor-protege relationship, that they were best friends, that Bledsoe was teaching him everything he knew. It couldn't have been further from the truth. It was the biggest fraud. This is why I hate the media. Nothing personal. They lied about that. And you watch everything now, it's all coming out. And with some of it. And
so
thank you for the 1 minute.
Danny,
Danny,
before you go,
stay on.
You remember how the stuff was on the clearance rack in the middle of the season for the Patriots gear?
Yeah. Listen,
Danny remembers that.
That was the biggest fraud perpetuated. The only guy that reported the truth is a guy named Hector Longo. I don't know if he still writes, but He's the only one that told the truth about the relationship between Brady and Bledsoe. Brady has a training video when it was just a little thing he did, and he looked into the camera. He says, "I'm coming for your effing job." Okay? I saw it. There was a documentary put out a long time ago, and I followed Brady at Michigan, so I know all about Tom Brady and what he did when he came in for that little protege,
20 seconds,
like Bledsoe was, Drew Henson. So I know the whole history. Anyway. Thank you for the minute.
You got
no
it.
problem. And just like we talked about this earlier in the show, KJ, I thought a really sneaky, interesting thing about the first 2 episodes of the Dynasty was that Bledsoe media availability when he was like, next question. I look forward to the opportunity to earn my job, and sitting down at the locker next to him was Brady.
Well, let's just put yourself
I found that interesting.
Well, let's put yourself in the mind of any QB1 on a team, and there's 4 QBs, right? If there's anybody you're most likely going to mentor, it would be QB2, not QB4, right? Like,
yeah.
Unless you're lobbying for 4 to beat out 2 and 3, and you think that, like you could, but that wasn't happening. So, look, it was a time and error where you believed that if a quarterback or a star player went out for an injury, that they didn't lose their job because of an injury. Bledsoe became kind of the face of, so what, you had an injury, you don't have your job when you come back. And that's what kind of shook a lot of people because no one had ever seen it before. So Danny does have credibility when he says that the media was 99% behind Bledsoe getting his job back because no one had ever seen this before. It's not that, granted, look, the performance from Bledsoe was horrible at that point and was a carryover from the previous year, but nobody had been replaced just because you lost your injury. The idea was you get yanked off of the field because of your performance. So if you missed any of the interview with Matthew Hamachek, the Odyssey app is free. You can rewind, go back to the 12 o'clock hour. It was a great talk about how he wanted to capture the emotions back at that time versus it being a book report and you knowing the information that's going to be in it. I think that was very key.
That was huge, I thought.
Okay, so the NBA All-Star Weekend. Before we get to the Celtics and we get to Jaylen Brown, let me get to Jaylen Brown first. I take my hat off to him because as many complaints that people have about All-Star Weekend, you had an All-Star put themselves into a Saturday competition for the dunk contest. I mean, come on. You literally had a person who won the dunk contest who hasn't been in the league in 2 straight years and has won the NBA dunk contest without being on an NBA roster. So hats off to Jaylen Brown doing the tribute to Michael Jackson with the left-handed glove. No, it had nothing to do with his dribbling skills. Michael Jackson is from Gary, Indiana, and hence the salute to Michael Jackson. To the late Terrence Clark, who lost his life in Los Angeles from Dorchester while he was at Kentucky and was about to go to the draft. He saluted him. It was like a big brother to him. So I give Jaylen Brown a lot of credit because he is putting his words behind his money and actions when it comes to his dedication to Boston.
Yeah, and even remember right after he signed the Supermax, he played in that Big 3 league in London. And that was some of the things he talked about. Like he wanted to, help the city of Boston, help his community, but also, care about the game of basketball from the ground up. So yeah, I agree with you. I enjoyed having him in the dunk contest. I would say, KJ, the NBA's got to do something about this All-Star Weekend because I thought the 3-point competition was great.
Boring.
The dunk contest, I love that Jaylen was in it, but you're right. A guy who's not in the NBA is winning the dunk contest. And then the All-Star game.
Boring.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty pathetic what we saw.
I had a great excuse to not watch any more than the first 15 minutes of the NBA All-Star game. I had to work BetMGM on the national show this morning at 5 a.m.
I had a great excuse.
I just put it on as background noise.
The season finale of True Detective came out last night at 9, so that's what I did instead of the All-Star game.
So how do you fix the dunk competition? And here's what I think you should do if you're the NBA, and you almost kind of make it mandatory, is if you're going to have someone like Matt McClung, who's a G League player, performing the dunk contest, then you should be able to get street ballers to go against them in the dunk contest. Like there has to be some type of embarrassment that happens to the NBA players so that way they step their game up to say, we're not going to have some non-NBA players beat us at our own game because guess what's happening? A non-NBA player is beating you at his own contest.
Yeah.
So I think if you go get street players now, the only thing that I think would be the hang up is if one of these guys, these YouTubers decide, hey, I'm going to do that dunk where I do the 1450. I don't know how many rotations that would be let's call it 5 times 360. I'm going to do a 2040.
And I would
the NBA is not going to cover that insurance, right?
And I wonder with the game itself, like, do you shorten the game and make it like a 40-minute game, and then guys will actually play defense?
Well,
like, do you do something like that? Like, I don't know.
What I did see last night was, wow, there's a lot of spent energy on that west side. They looked really slow. LeBron and Jokic and Luka Doncic out there, that's like a T train. Move it. Slow.
Yeah.
It was slow out there for them. So I don't know what you do. There's no way that you could say, hey, the winner of this contest gets, NBA playoffs, the NBA finals home court advantage. You don't do that because you play the games in the season to be able to get home court advantage. Right?
Yeah, I wouldn't love that. Like, remember baseball tried that, and it was like, meh. But it feels like the All-Star Weekend used to be this awesome event, and now to me it's boiled down to the 3-point contest is fun and entertaining, and that's kind of it as far as like entertainment value. And so they got to do something about that. And even that, and that's fair, KJ. But like that's the only one to me that I'm even like, oh, I want to know how that. Like the Steph Curry, Sabrina Ionescu 3-point. Like, okay, I was interested in that. I wasn't interested in the game. The dunk contest, I was interested because Jaylen Brown was in it, but like only because for Jaylen Brown, not the dunk contest itself.
Okay, so we've gotten past the ugly stuff. The game, the weekend, even the celebrity game is like horrible.
Well,
like,
they should have us playing that, by the way. Like, that's ridiculous.
I mean, they probably want real ratings. Now, if they wanted something exciting, you probably see me kick the ball up, until about 30 rows back. And then jump and hang on the rim or try and break the glass. Do something violent, but at least you get ratings.
We should do a WEEI celebrity all-star basketball game.
No, I don't do anything that acquires my Achilles to go up and down at a fast motion. I don't do that anymore.
Okay, that's fine.
I will say the shootout
coach
between Steph Curry and Sabrina Ionescu was pretty good.
Yeah, but that's the only Joe. Like to me, that's the only thing that I looked at from the weekend that I was like, oh, I want to know what happens there. And does Jaylen Brown not get hurt in the dunk contest? That was my biggest things from the whole weekend.
Yeah, I don't know how you really make the weekend more excitable when the truth and the secret to NBA weekend is everything but the game is why people are there. So even what's the guy's name that plays
That's
for
when
Minnesota?
Kyrie
Edwards.
and Durant planned their escape to Brooklyn together.
Right. They're like, hey, look, I think that, this is just a break for us. So they're not really going to go hard in the game. And there's nothing that you're going to be able to make the players do that when it's been decided by the league that it's a break. So I don't know how you do this. Do you go like little league rules where you have to take like 3 like end of bench players and stick them in the game to compete? You put Obi out there or something. I don't know.
That's right. Like I said, I wonder if you shorten the game. Like if they only have to play 35 minutes, but
either
they play
that or
hard,
you got to increase the cash prize. Like I know for the in-season tournament, they got $500,000. You might need to go to like $750,000.
All-Star game MVP gets a super max.
But if you're all those, that's a good idea right there. Because you have to think outside the box. It probably has to be one of those like the winning team splits a pot of say $50 million. Right, like it's got to be something crazy like that. But then, why run any commercials? You run no commercials because all the $50 million sitting right over there.
Yeah.
Let's go to Mike and Danvers. Mike, thank you so much for calling KJ and Lyons. You're on WEEI.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Good.
So, a good fix for the dunk contest. I'm stealing this. I got this from a radio or a podcast or whatever from Rick Bucher. Have you heard of it? I'm sure you've heard of that.
Yeah, I know Rick Bucher.
So he came up with the idea, and I think it's perfect. Whoever wins the slam dunk contest gets a signature shoe every year.
Okay. It sounds good on paper, but what kid is running out to go buy the Mac McClungs?
But it's still a collector's item. That's what I'm saying. The Mac McClungs won't be in it. The pros would be in it to get a collector's shoe that would be worth a lot of money if you get a new shoe every year for the dunk contest winner, and they'd make some real money and give them a reason to actually do it. I think it's a great idea.
I wouldn't hate that. Like if Jaylen Brown had won the dunk contest and then we got a Jaylen Brown sneaker, like I think that would be kind of cool. Like you're right about the McClung. Like I mean, I don't even know who that guy is outside of the dunk contest. But I think if you got
value McClungs.
If you got real NBA players in it, and then like what if LeBron won the dunk contest and a LeBron sneaker came up, but it was a dunk contest edition, or a Giannis sneaker like that would be pretty cool. I think.
So I think the challenge would be the logistics, right? Like, do you pre-make everybody's shoe and then you reveal what the winner's shoe is? Like, because what's the turnaround time? Like, are you presented with the shoe right away? Now, again, you probably have better lead time if you get people into the game. Then, yeah, I don't hate that idea if you know you would have to get the top players. And so let's say a guy ends up like a double shoe deal, because he might already have a shoe that's coming out at All-Star game, and now you have a second special edition dunk shoe that's maybe a limited collector's item. Yeah. So, yeah, maybe that helps the dunk contest there. But then you get into, all right, well, what constitutes a 50 versus a 49.5? So that's then you get into the judging and how objective is it or would it be?
Here's an idea from the 774. The best thing to do about the dunk contest, get rid of it.
Get rid of it. Yeah. I knew that was coming.
Yeah, not a bad idea.
But you know what? There's so much money tied to commercials and ad buys and all that. And this is what we kind of joke about, like where, hey, as a listener, you believe you can do this, and then there's a whole nother side of the money and understanding how the money works. And when you understand how the money works, that's why they won't reduce the amount of games in a season. They won't get rid of the All-Star game. They won't get rid of the dunk contest because there's money to be made just on those things, no matter how bad the product is. I have to give it to the caller, Mike, and who we heard from Rick Bucher. That is a genius idea.
I think that's a fun idea.
Because you're only talking about, 5 to 7 contestants. Maybe you even expand because, like, hey, I can get a double shoe out of this. Kind of like, hey, you can get my regular shoe and then the special dunk edition. And now you're only talking about having to get with 5 to 7 guys, and with design teams, once they are announced they're in the All-Star dunk contest, they would just have to commit as soon as it opens.
Yeah, or you could have, like you said, like a pre-designed shoe, and the winner just gets that shoe. And maybe they put their logo on it. Like if Jason Tatum won, the shoe would be a Jordan shoe with the JT logo on it, but the rest of like the colors and the schematics would be the same for pretty much anyone, and then maybe you could turn it around.
From the money side, that could happen because then you could get investment in terms of advertising just in the process of making the shoe, right? Like you could sell that as this is the shoe. If so-and-so wins, this is the dunk shoe that you would be able to collect. So if they don't win it, then, hey, you can autograph that one copy, that demo copy, and charity,
Yeah. But I do want to, I don't want this to be so incentive driven. Like, we have to criticize the players for not putting in the effort. Adam Silver and the league made these changes. They went back to old formats. We heard Jason Tatum in the postgame saying he likes the changes, but it's on the players to actually put in some effort and to show some kind of competitiveness. So let's just not make
especially in the
incentive
game.
based.
Yeah.
Defense.
The other part of it, how motivated are we to do work on our day off?
Yeah, but still, you're in the All-Star game. I mean,
imagine putting up that effort in front.
Score,
imagine putting up that effort in front of Larry Bird, Oscar Robertson, Dr. J. Imagine that.
That's because those guys were selling refrigerators in the offseason. These guys, you know what I mean? These guys probably in 10 games make what some of these guys made in a season.
But that's why I wonder if you shorten the game. If you made it a 40-minute game, maybe you would.
2 20-minute halves?
Yeah, maybe you would get more high-end defensive effort because guys now, load management's a thing, but also the NBA is a way more endurance and running base than it was 15 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. So these guys are so worried about conserving their bodies. Maybe if you have less time, they'll go harder on the defensive end. I don't know. But it was pretty frustrating to see that last night.
Or maybe you introduce the 5-point shot, right? If you're using these AWS analytics of where different shots are taken.
I don't need celebrity game junk involved in the pro
Wait,
game.
But here's the thing. If a dude is taking a half-court shot, might as well give him 5 points for it, right? You don't have to put the markers on the court. But you'll say, hey, okay, anything from behind here is a 5-point shot. That may close gaps more. Or if you make 3 threes in a row, if a player makes 3 threes in a row, that third 3 is worth 4 points, right? Or something to incentivize people to really go after it, to close the score. It's not even the defensive part of it. To not have one of the teams lose by 25 points. That's not an all-star game. That's, back when you played Little League, it was kind of like the best team playing against the stars of the rest of the league, and the team always still won because, we beat all these guys. They're just getting it together. So nobody wants to see a game where people lose by 25. If it's a competitive game, it doesn't even have to be something defensive. The score just has to be close.
Yeah, I still don't like the total lack of defense, though. That was annoying. to me. That's why I'm glad True Detective came out at 9:00.
Yeah,
so I just watched that.
I also didn't buy Playboy magazines when I turned 18 just to read the articles. So, I mean, in one side of the coin and another, some people don't want to watch the All-Star game for defense.
And I'm not saying it's going to be like a whole, but like, I mean, you had guys out there just standing there. I mean, it's like, come on, like, give me something.
Well, I'll tell you what, we'll give you a break here because those same things that we talk about paid commercials, those are next. And then we wrap up KJ and Lyons here, getting ready for Jones and Mego at 2 here on WEEI. Good President's Day to you.